Good morning. Welcome to today's meeting on the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 session. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter. Present. DeLong. Present. De Silva. Here. Edgeworth. Flanagan. Here. Gallant. Here. Goulding. Here. Gurr. Here. Hunt. Here. Jackson. Karras. Here. Kasama. Here. Nguyen. Here. Chair Considine.
I am here. Thank you. If you would please record Assembly members Jackson and Edgeworth present when they arrive. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. I would like to begin with some housekeeping measures. First, please check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to our committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state and spell your name and any affiliation for the record. If you are providing handouts, please ensure that hard copies are available for members of the public. Electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. on Friday for committee members. As always, we expect courtesy and respect and interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. And committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not interpret this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Today, we will be hearing 3 bills. We will begin with Senate Bill 12, which revises provisions relating to the Office of the Chief Information Officer within the Office of the Governor. Next, we will hear SB 240, which revises provisions relating to state business licenses. And finally, we'll hear SB 373, which establishes requirements relating to multi-jurisdictional business licenses. To ensure we get through everyone fairly and in a timely manner today, we will set a 20-minute time limit for each period of support, opposition, and neutral testimony, with each speaker having up to 2 minutes. And let's get started. We will begin with Senate Bill 12. I will now open the hearing on Senate Bill 12. To present this measure, we have Tom Galuzzi, Chief Information Officer. And please go ahead when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and members of the Assembly Government Affairs. For the record, my name is Timothy Galuzzi, and I have the honor of serving as your State Chief Information Officer in the Office of the Chief Information Officer within the Office of the Governor. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Senate Bill 12, which revises provisions related to the Office of the Chief Information Officer within the Office of the Governor. I want to begin my brief bill introduction today by expressing my sincerest gratitude for this body, for the hard work that went into the unanimous passage of Senate Bill 431 last session, which elevated the agency I represent from a division within the Department of Administration to a cabinet-level organization within the Governor's Office. I can sit here today and tell you that this move has made a tangible impact on how the state views technology and how it manages it. The conversations that I am having today with agencies have moved from the tactical to strategic. IT governance and policy are growing stronger. Stakeholder engagement and communication are at a level that this office has never seen. Cybersecurity coordination and incident response are improving constantly. We are building trust with our partner agencies. In short, the vision of SB 431 that y'all had last session is coming to fruition. It is working. The bill that I present to you today continues the efforts from SB 431 from the 82nd session. We will begin with the first major component of this bill, our agency name. The Governor's Office, the Lieutenant Governor's Office, the Attorney General's Office, the Treasurer's Office, the Controller's Office, the Office of the Chief Information Officer within the Office of the Governor. Each of these offices is named after the leader that is entrusted to carry out the duties of that office, but one of these stands apart from the other. All of these, other than the office that I represent, is voted on and selected by Nevadans. I am appointed, and I believe that is a sacred distinction. And that is one of the primary deliverables of this bill. the name change of our organization. We have selected the Governor's Technology Office in part as our new name by a working group comprised of our own team members. This also helps us bring our organization into alignment with the Governor's Finance Office and emphasizes the fact that we are a strategic role throughout the executive branch of state government, and it removes any ambiguity of us being an elected body. The additional sections in this bill make corresponding adjustments to the office's elevation, aligning unit names, such as units, into divisions, adjusts roles on boards, and clarifies position titles and classifications for clarity and parity. The remaining changes envisioned in SB 12 make corresponding adjustments to related statutes where this agency is referenced and removes definitions that are no longer relevant. Last we spoke, we discussed AB 432 and our vision for statewide Security Operations Center, or SOC. I wanted to touch briefly on any impacts that these bills have on each other. As AB 432 is largely additive, it is standing up a Security Operations Center and allowing the SOC to extend services to non-executive branch agencies. SB 12 would not be counter to that effort. It could stand alone. But it does set a broader foundation with the organizational structure, with unit names and position title clarification, when or if the SOC comes to fruition. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to introduce Senate Bill 12. I will make myself available to the committee for any questions that the members may have.
Thank you for your presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? We'll start with Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. I had a question under Section 7, changing the deputy chief from classified to unclassified. What's driving that change?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. Chair, would you mind if I go directly to this? Thank you for the question, Assemblymember. For the record, Timothy Galuzzi, State Chief Information Officer. Currently, the deputies that report directly to the Chief Information Officer are all unclassified. So this is a parity issue that we are trying to address.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions because, as you mentioned, we had AB 432 in here a couple of months ago, which was adding the SOC, the Security Operations Center, under the CIO, and now this is moving just the name of the CIO to the Office of Government Technology. But then if you could sketch out how AB 533, which was transferring the Division of Emergency Management for the Office of the Military to the Office of the Governor, if that crosses paths here, and then SB 467, which is transferring the Nevada Office of Cyber Defense Coordination of the Department of Public Safety to the Office of the Chief Information Officer in the Office of the Governor. So I'm just trying to get kind of like a visual chart of, if all of these bills were to pass, what is it that is moving into the governor's, what's getting the name change, how is that sort of realigning all of these different pieces?
Thank you for the question, Chair. That's a wonderful question. So Timothy Galuzzi, for the record, once again, what we are envisioning is that the Security Operations Center actually becomes the operational arm underneath the combined Office of Information Security and Cyber Defense that one of the bills that you referenced envisions. So the budget bill, the budget implementation bill that I'm going to be introducing this afternoon that moves the Office of Cyber Defense Coordination underneath the Office of the Chief Information Officer, it also combines the Office of Information Security and the Office of Cyber Defense Coordination into one holistic team. Right now, we have two disparate cybersecurity teams within the executive branch. And the bill that I'm going to be introducing this afternoon and on the other side, on the Senate side, is actually going to be combining those two teams into one. And so this bill is not in conflict with that at all. This also kind of sets the stage for that, and it allows for that transition to also happen. And so these things are kind of building blocks, all kind of leading to that one destination. And so when the Office of Cyber Defense Coordination does hopefully transition into the Office of the Chief Information Officer, it will combine with the Office of Information Security, and then the Security Operations Center would be effectively an operational unit underneath that combined security team.
Okay, thank you for all of that, but I'm very visual, so I just want to make sure. So we have the Office of the Governor, then under the Office of the Governor is the Office of the CIO, which is being changed to the Office of Technology. And then underneath that would be the combination of this cyber defense, the two entities you're just talking about. And then underneath that would be the Security Operations Center.
Timothy Galuzzi, for the record, you nailed it.
Okay, and then the Security Operations Center will oversee things that are not executive agencies.
Timothy Galuzzi, for the record, it would provide Security Operations Center tools and resources to non-executive branch agencies as well as executive branch agencies. So it does provide operational support to both.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question. And then the Office of Emergency Management, that if we have the bill that says we're moving it from the Office of the Military to under the Office of the Governor, where does this fit into that kind of chart?
Timothy Galuzzi, for the record, that's a great question, ma'am. The Office of Emergency Management, that does not necessarily impact the cybersecurity work that we're doing. Where they would come into play would be where their expertise is, and that's really on the recovery element. That's really on the coordination of non-IT, non-cybersecurity efforts. And so when we talk about those efforts, we're talking about emergency management, we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about all the things that are not cybersecurity, not technology components.
Thank you. So that would be one is people, and then the other one is more like cybersecurity.
That's correct. I think you got it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering those questions. I think it just helps for us to kind of visualize the whole chart, because that's a lot of bills that cover the same territory, and they're all kind of the same but separate. So thank you. And then our next question is from Assemblymember Jackson.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. The Chief of Information Office, when was the last time that it had a authority shift like this?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Timothy Galuzzi, for the record. The last significant shift that we had was just last session with SB 431, where our organization was moved from a division underneath the Department of Administration and into the governor's office. And so SB 12, the primary focus here is a name change, which really just kind of builds on that effort and provides some clarity. And then it also continues the work of that bill, making some adjustments to the internal structure of the organization to really account for the fact that we are a cabinet level organization and no longer a division.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning. Thank you for being here. As one of my committee members has already mentioned, there's a lot of bills that we're looking at. So I'm assuming, and I know we're not the money committee, but just in looking at overall structure, I'm assuming this will reduce some of the will this reduce some of the financial expenditures going out of the office? And can you talk about what it does to staffing? Will it reduce redundancy in positions, or will everyone who's there now continue to be needed?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Timothy Galuzzi, for the record. There was a fiscal note on this bill, and that was already addressed, and that was really for the rebranding efforts. At this point, we're not really identifying any other fiscal impacts related specifically to this legislation, specifically to SB 12. This is really just an alignment of how we are operating in space right now. the other legislation, it is that is pending right now is really a budget implementation legislation, but this one is really aligning how we are currently operating, so there really shouldn't be any fiscal impact with this legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I have for clarification?
You can, but again, this is not a fiscal committee, this is a policy committee, so if it's a policy question, yes.
It was just a matter of the staffing question, just to make sure, was this streamlining operations in terms of the people?
Thank you for the question, Assembly Member. I think that this provides a lot of clarification, and so if that clarification helps expedite communications with other agencies, then we would see some efficiencies gained there.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Carter.
Good morning. I'm trying to grasp why the three bills that you've talked about today, as AB 432, SB 12, and the bill being presented today over in the Senate, were not one bill. You know, we were told that AB 432 was this organic thing that grew out of had nothing to do with the governor's office, and now we're being told that they all three interconnect. So which is it? Do they all three interconnect, or are we dealing with disparate ideas being brought together that just serendipitously connect?
Thank you for the question, Assembly Member. There is a strategic alignment with all Timothy Galuzzi, for the record, there is strategic alignment with these three pieces of legislation. They do build on each other. As far as how each one of them came to be, this one is a agency bill. This one, SB 12, is one that was submitted through the governor's office. The bill I'm introducing this afternoon is a bill that came through the budgeting process and is a budget implementation bill. The AB 432 is a piece of legislation that was worked on in the interim to solve a problem that was addressed or that was identified where there are significant gaps in cybersecurity throughout the entire state. And the form and function on how the bills came to be, I think, is while it is worth having a conversation of, I think the policy ramifications and what we're trying to accomplish here is incredibly important. And I think that there is a lot of strategic alignment with the framework that we're building with cybersecurity. But this bill is really what I'm trying to focus on. And this bill is building on the work that the legislature started last session, and it is really for the operational efficiency and really just building on the strategic impacts of technology for the executive branch. And that's really what I want to focus my energy on today.
Thank you. Committee members, are there any other questions? Seeing no other questions, thank you so much for your presentation. We will now move on to testimony. We will start here in Carson City with testimony in support. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and any affiliation for the record. Turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. For today, just for anyone on the phones, the call-in number for everyone calling in is 669-900-6833 instead of the normal 888 call-in number. Again, please take a look at our website if you want to call in to provide any testimony today or public comment at the end of our session. And that number is 669-900-6833. And we begin with testimony here in support of Senate Bill 12 here in Carson City. Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Trevor Parrish with the Vegas Chamber. The Chamber appreciates the efforts that brought forward SB 12 because it will help streamline and modernize the state's operations and will help ensure that that we are better positioned to protect and manage our state's digital infrastructure. The Chamber would like to thank the committee for your time and consideration of this measure today. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone in Las Vegas, but is there someone I can't see in Las Vegas who wishes to testify in support of SB 12? Please step forward. Not seeing anyone AVH. Is there anyone on the phone lines in support of SB 12 this morning?
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 12, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Again, if you would like to testify in support, please press *9. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide testimony in support.
Thank you. We will then move to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in opposition of SB 12? Seeing no one, and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the lines in opposition of SB 12?
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 12, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide testimony in opposition.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral for SB 12? Seeing no one here in Carson City, still seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral for SB 12?
If you would like to testify in neutral of Senate Bill 12, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. And Chair, we have no callers wishing to provide testimony at this time.
Thank you. Would you like to come up and make any final remarks? Please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Once again, Timothy Galuzzi for the record, State Chief Information Officer. I want to thank you and the committee for all of your time this morning and for your consideration on this bill. Once again, SB 12 works on continuing the efforts of this body on really bringing the conversation of technology and operational efficiency and really moving it to the strategic. And that's exactly what it has done since last session. It has moved from the tactical to the strategic. We are in the room now, and we are having conversations at the right level. We are having the conversations at the director level where technology needs to have a seat. And this really just ties a bow on it. It helps us bring our operational units to the level in which they need to be as a cabinet level organization, and it changes our name to what it really should be versus having our agency named after the principal office holder. I'm not elected. Let's leave offices named after elected officials, and let's leave that as a saber distinction. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will now close the hearing on SB 12 and open the hearing on SB 240, which revises provisions relating to state business licenses. To present this measure, we have Senator Pezzina, and please go ahead when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, and the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. It's so nice to see you all again. For the record, my name is Julie Pezzina, and I represent Senate District 12 in Clark County, covering parts of Las Vegas and Henderson. And I'm before you today to present Senate Bill 240, which revises provisions relating to state business licenses. I'm joined here today by Mr. Paul Muradkin with the Vegas Chamber, and he'll also be contributing in just a moment. So the intent of Senate Bill 240 is to help small businesses succeed in Nevada. It's for entrepreneurs and for small businesses. One of the top barriers to small businesses' success is the cost of obtaining the required licenses and permits. High license fees can significantly impact the initial capital and ongoing operational costs of startups and small businesses. And to reduce the burden on new small businesses, this bill reduces the fee for the issuance of a state business license for entities with fewer than 50 full or part-time employees. And this is, again, again, just for the very first year in business. According to the most recent data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are currently 104,793 business establishments in Nevada with fewer than 50 employees. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy, but most of them struggle in the first 3 years of operation. Not only do small business owners currently have to pay state licensing fees, but they also often pay county and city licensing fees as well, and it compounds the cost of opening their business. This bill will greatly support small businesses and entrepreneurs in our state. And again, just to clarify, this is for the first year of business only. And I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Paul Moratkin.
Thank you, Senator Pazina. For the record, Paul Moratkin with the Vegas Chamber. Good morning to Chair Considine and members of the committee. I'd like to first, of course, thank the bill's sponsor for bringing the bill forward today. As you know, the Vegas Chamber is the state's largest business association, but our membership consists of 85% of small businesses, which are the job creators of your state and, of course, the constituents in your districts. As the Senator shared, capital is one of the leading challenges for a business to succeed in its first 3 years, and a reduction in the state business licensing fee in that first year would help a small business and entrepreneurs reduce their costs and operations. First-year operations are impacted by unexpected costs, as many of you know, startup fees, and the higher expected spending to get started. Small businesses have a hard time accessing capital because of a lack of credit history, collateral, or investor interest or burdensome loan processes many of you have heard from your constituents. This bill is designed to help small businesses and purposely designed to target businesses under 50 employers, which is the state standard that's used to define a small business. This legislation does not apply to corporations. This bill is focused and a strategic focus to support small businesses and entrepreneurs with employees, as Senator Pazina said, only within their first year. After the first year, we'll go back to the regular fee level in years 2, 3, and so on. As written, there is no financial impact to the local governments, and this bill only pertains to state business licensing. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Happy, of course, to answer any questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Committee members, do we have any questions? Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. I see in subsection 8, you've added the reduced fee for the small business, but I don't see in the bill where it's limited to just the first year, and maybe I'm just missing it. If you could point that out to me, I'd appreciate it.
For the record, Paul Moratkin, through the chair to Assemblymember DeLong. That's an excellent question. So in drafting and working with LCB and so forth, it's actually in a different section about the second and third years. So this only applies to the first year. And to your point, there was some original confusion in drafting, but this has been drafted and we've double checked with legal multiple times to ensure there's not an unintended consequence of causing a large fiscal hole. So this will only be applied, and we do have it confirmed through LCB.
Thank you. Next question is from Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. So I appreciate bringing this bill forward because our business license fees have gotten pretty hefty over the years. And I don't know if you have an answer to this question, but there's a lot of people that just start LLCs because they hold properties and it's not really a business, right? And you're not going to have employees. You're not going to be really creating any jobs. Is there any way we could make a distinction, because I know our state's really hurting financially, between like an actual company versus just something that's protecting the liability of a particular property owner?
For the record, again, Paul Moratkin, through the chair to Assemblymember Gallant. And that's an excellent question. Those were conversations we had with other stakeholders, and that's actually the reason why we took the corporations out. I was trying to focus on small businesses, and to your point, some of them do form LLCs for business holdings, but small law firms, for example, are LLCs and so forth. So, and also to your question about the state hurting revenue, we do believe this will attract more businesses to the state without lower licensing fee. And if we need to come back later on to potentially adjust, of course, we're happy to work with you on that. Of course.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Good morning. Thank you. Two questions. One is what's the estimate of how many businesses you think will be impacted by this annually?
Julie Pizzina for the record, and the Secretary of State could probably answer that more fully because, again, it's small businesses in Nevada just in their first year. So I can refer to the Secretary of State's office and get an answer for you.
And do our neighbor states have a similar policy to the one that you're proposing?
For the record, Paul Moradkin through the chair to someone going, yeah, so several states do have different licensing fees. So it's not uncommon to see, there's no national standard, but some states don't have them. Some will have a first year holiday, some will have a reduced fee. So there are some other examples in the country, to your point. Thank you. Of course.
Thank you, committee members. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. If you'd like to step back, we will move on to testimony. Testimony, again, can be provided here in Carson City in person, in Las Vegas, if anyone was in Las Vegas, and over the phone. And again, I will just read that number today. If you're calling in to provide testimony today, you want to dial 669-900-6833. And we will begin with testimony in support here in Carson City. Go ahead when you're ready.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Good to see you. Trey Abney, Trayabney, here today representing small business job creators of NFIB, Nevada. We strongly support this bill. We want to thank Senator Pizzina and the Vegas Chamber for bringing it forward. Certainly, there are a lot of struggles when you're opening up a very small business, and so anything we can do to help them and create these businesses that will probably in the future create more jobs for Nevadans, we support. So thank you very much.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. I can't say it much better than my colleague from Southern Nevada did. I do want to make a point, though, in our support for Senate Bill 240, and that's one of compliance. We get a lot of telephone calls from new businesses, people that want to start their businesses. And I think you'd be surprised at how many people are willing to go forward and get their business license and comply if it's $100 rather than it's $200. Just the psychology of it. We'll bring those folks, those small companies, into the fold so that we can actually increase the amount of revenue the state gets. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, good morning. My name is Tomas Hammond, T-O-M-A-S-H-A-M-M-O-N-D with Carrera, Nevada, here on behalf of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, and we are also in support. Thank you.
Hi, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Andy McKay, I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. Admittedly, this will only capture a couple of our dealer members. However, it's important to note that countless customers of ours will benefit from this policy, and for that, we support the measure. Thank you.
Is there any other testimony in support here in Carson City for SB 240? Seeing none and seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line in support of Senate Bill 240?
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 240, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, please press star 9.
Hello and happy Memorial Day to everyone. This is Peter Guzman, president of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. I echo all the comments by my dear colleague, Paul Moradkin from the Vegas Chamber. We are in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Considine and members of the committee. My name is Emily Osterberg, and I'm representing the Henderson Chamber of Commerce, and there are over 2,000 members, the majority of whom are small businesses in Southern Nevada, to express our strong support for SB 240. Starting a business in Nevada involves numerous upfront costs. These initial expenses often create financial strain, forcing many small businesses to begin operations in a deficit. SB 240 reduced first-year fee will directly alleviate this burden, allowing entrepreneurs to reinvest crucial capital back into their business during their startup phase. Thank you very much, and we urge your support.
Chair, we have no additional callers at this time.
Thank you. We will then move to opposition testimony here in Carson City. Is there anyone wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 240? Seeing no one approach and still seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, we're back to you to see anyone calling in for testimony in opposition to SB 240.
Thank you, Chair. The line is open and working. We have no callers for opposition.
Thank you. Then we will move to neutral testimony. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on SB 240? Seeing no one, still seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line in neutral testimony for Senate Bill 240?
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. Would the presenter like to come up for any final remarks? Please go ahead when you're ready.
Julie Pizzina again for the record. I just wanted to thank the committee for hearing the bill and for the great questions, and we will get an answer to you on your question, Assembly Member. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now close the hearing on SB 240, and we'll open the hearing on Senate Bill 373, which established requirements relating to multi-jurisdictional business licenses. To present this measure, we have Senator Steinbeck. Please go ahead when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair, Madam Chair, members of the Assembly. My name is John Steinbeck, and I represent Senate District 18 in Clark County. I appreciate the opportunity to present Senate Bill 373 today, and I'm joined by Joanna Jacobs from Clark County as well. This bill requires the adoption of model ordinances for regional business licenses across counties and incorporated cities. The bill aims to streamline the licensing process, reduce administrative burdens for businesses, and foster regional cooperation among local governments. So it's on the theme of the last bill that you just heard as well. Following our early amendment, the bill restricted the county to counties over 700,000. And that also reduced the physical notes that we had on it completely from the counties of Lyon and Elko, which were the only ones that indicated any issues. Currently, also, Clark County is working with the Secretary of State on a project called Orion, which will help to upgrade the Silver Flume. Counties and cities regulate businesses within their jurisdictions and may enter into agreements to issue multi-jurisdictional licenses for specific industries. However, there is no comprehensive system for regional business licenses applicable to broader categories of businesses. This is something that Senate Bill 373 seeks to address. As such, SB 373 requires the Board of County Commissioners and each governing body of an incorporated city to adopt a model ordinance for establishing regional business licenses. These ordinances must include specific elements to ensure clarity and uniformity. They must define the proposed boundaries of the region in which the regional business license will be valid and identify the categories of businesses eligible for each license. Examples of those that they are considering today are general business license are mobile food vendors, sidewalk vendors, business support services, repair handyman, cleaning services, and healthcare providers. Additionally, the ordinance must outline requirements for obtaining and renewing the license, establish fee structures, and address any other provisions necessary to create a comprehensive and effective licensing system. This bill requires boards of the County Commission and governing bodies of the incorporated cities within the proposed region to work together to determine whether to enter into this agreement to establish regional business licenses for these specified business categories. In making this determination, local governments must evaluate several factors: the similarity of existing fees for business licenses across jurisdictions, the alignment of renewal periods for these licenses, and the consistency of regulations governing businesses with respect to time, place, or manner of requirements. In conclusion, SB 373 is a practical solution to a long-standing challenge faced by businesses operating in multiple jurisdictions across Nevada. By streamlining licensing processes and promoting intergovernmental cooperation, This bill seeks to reduce administrative burdens on businesses while enhancing efficiencies for local governments. It supports economic growth and encourages innovation and governance. For these reasons, I urge you to support SB 373, and myself and Joanna are ready for any questions you may have.
Thank you, committee members. Do we have any questions on the bill? Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Glad you guys are bringing this forward, and I just want to make sure this is clear. You listed out a couple businesses, or is that what is currently have, or is that the only businesses that will be covered under this?
Thank you for the question, Assemblymember Gallant. Joanna Jacob on behalf of Clark County, through you, Chair, to Assemblywoman Gallant. These are, right now, this builds on a project that we've been doing with the large cities. Currently, we have multi-jurisdictional license for contractors. Just at our last board meeting, actually on May 20th, while we were here, the county and the city of Henderson and the city of North Las Vegas added sidewalk vendors to this category. So that work, we had committed to you earlier in the session that was already underway, and a lot of work has gone into that in aligning our ordinances in order to add that into this structure. So we're looking at that work. So we listed, Senator Steinbeck listed those categories because the next category we'll probably look at, following on the work with the sidewalk vendors, are food trucks, which are also move around in the jurisdictions, and then we can build on it from there. This is the most important piece of this bill is really the integration with the Secretary of State's office, because that has been a barrier for some of our small businesses that come in, an additional barrier. Not only are they dealing with each of the cities, but the precursor to application for our local business license is to register with the state. We are moving towards a really good structure here that we could add and make it and streamline that process by integrating with the Secretary of State and adding in this. So the idea is, right now, the sidewalk vendors was done via an interlocal agreement. And so this bill is going to move us into a more formalized structure where we can align actually our codes, and that is going to be a great assistance. So we're adding as we go. So right now, contractors and sidewalk vendors, and then we're looking at next food trucks. And then from that, the additional categories that Senator Steinbeck listed, those are really ones where we can look at. There tend to be general business licenses, so ones in which there's not a lot of regulation and oversight through the health district and other things that we need to do. So those types of categories we are looking at for the inclusion, if that helps to answer the question.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. First of all, I'm just going to ask if you put property managers on that list quickly, because we're all over the valley, right? Okay, so let me understand the structure of this. So you want to be able to, a business will be able to go to the Secretary of State and get their state license, and then also be able to do a multi-jurisdictional license. However, is the state taking guidance from what Henderson, Clark County, Boulder City, North Las Vegas, from their policy codes? Is that how that's going to work?
Joanna Jacob for the record. Right now, the work is being done at the local level. The work here, for contractors, there's a process. You could walk into the city of Henderson. Henderson has right now it's administered through there, and then you can apply for your license. We're building on the Secretary of State, so with that, because they are, as you know, they have been doing a large-scale technology project to try and upgrade Silver Flume. We have Silver Flume. I've spent a lot of time at the business license department in Clark County, okay? And so we have it there. And so we help applicants apply at the state for the state license while they're there, usually with our business license workers. The idea is, there is a work group that is happening right now as part of that Project Orion, where it's really our IT departments and also our business license departments, respective jurisdictions, are working with the Secretary of State to say this is what we need in order to integrate. So that's really to answer your question, yes, are they taking, I don't know if I would say guidance, but the conversation is happening because we are talking about what we need to do to integrate our systems with the Secretary of State's for these categories, and that work is happening right now. The important part of this bill is it's going to help formalize that after that the project will eventually end, but we'll have this structure in place so that there'll be that communication back and forth between the Secretary of State and the local government. So yes, I guess short answer, yes. The conversations are happening and the work is ongoing. It's slow moving. And just to clarify also for the record, the entities that are participating right now are the large cities. So we have North Las Vegas, Henderson, and Clark County. We are hoping also to bring in Mesquite and Boulder City with this because they also have business license. But, this has been a barrier. I guess it's been difficult to align. If you think about aligning with the 7 elected boards and codes from the cities, and so it's been a project that has been, I think, slow moving for our business community, but I want to say that we are making some meaningful strides, and that is what this bill is hoping to build upon and why we are here in support of it, because it's going to help us build from the framework that we are just now establishing, if that helps.
Madam Chair, may I add to that, please?
Go ahead.
John Steinbeck for the record. Yeah, so Assemblymember Gallant, the idea is no wrong door, right? So that you can go into any one of the different cities and get your license, and this is all worked out, and then you pay your fees. The fees are distributed from there to all of the sharing cities in the county and the proper amount. And the first bill we heard today was to save money on the initial. This one here is to save time, and in business, time is money. And so that's the idea. When this idea was brought forward, of course, the county and some of the cities were working on this, but this was asked for to make it mandatory, right? That we get it done. That it brings it up on the priority list for all the electeds that Joanna just spoke to, as well as the licensing divisions.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you. So if you purchase a multi-jurisdictional license, is that more than a single jurisdictional? And then regardless of whether it's more for the multi-jurisdictional, how is it distributed across the jurisdictions?
Yes, thank you, John Steinbeck for the record. So the license fees will be more. They will be the combined amount of all the licensing fees from all of the jurisdictions and then distributed as such, right? So if, I'm just throwing out, but if it's $100 in the county, $100 in the city, $100 in Henderson and so forth, the different areas be a $700 fee and then distributed across $100 across the board. So those numbers aren't actual numbers, but just an example. So it won't be a reduced fee because all of those jurisdictions still need to collect their fees, but it is one-stop shop and one license that is good throughout. So one of the complaints that I got from a lot of small businesses was the amount of time that they spend going to each one of the bodies and applying for the license and then getting a license in jurisdiction A, but still waiting on a license in jurisdiction B, C, and D. And this will streamline that, but the costs and the distribution will be seamless to the business owner and eventually automatic through the system and just sent over to the proper jurisdiction.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Steinbeck and Joanna Jacobs for being here. Joanna kind of hinted on a little bit of my question because it tied to the sidewalk vending and the commitment. And I know in previous presentations, since that was brought up, there was a mention by one of the cities that roughly 12 licenses have been issued. But at the same time, we see a lot of sidewalk vending that indicates clearly people are operating outside the proper channels. So you also alluded to the code enforcement. So is the hope that this will sort of rein some of that in and allow sort of shared management of how it works, or is it just we're going to write a multi-jurisdictional business license so it covers all the areas, but then still leave the code enforcement to the respective cities on the various businesses who get these different licenses?
Joanna Jacob for the record. Thank you for that question and the opportunity to clarify. I think the intent of adding sidewalk vendors to the multi-jurisdictional license was to be in response to some of the criticism that we received about the barriers to the licensing process, that it was very difficult. Some of the work that went on in trying to move that category to multi-jurisdictional licensing was to align the requirements across all of the cities and the county with respect to where you can operate, distance separation, that type of thing. The code I guess not necessarily code enforcement, at least for Clark County, that ordinance is enforced by our Department of Business license and our agents that go out on that point. They would still enforce in the jurisdiction. The business license is what gives us the ability to enforce, right? So this is what you have, and then we will go out and enforce. It is not intended to try and address the larger issue that you referenced. There's other legislation before this body right now that is trying to work on that issue, and we're trying to work on that issue about whether licensed versus unlicensed. But we had committed in the previous bills that we would work to try and keep the licensing and the access, at least to Clark County's licensing and the city licensing, to be as easy as possible. So this is a further statement towards our commitment that we are trying to reduce the barriers, because when you look at businesses that are moving from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, that was a particular challenge that we had on that bill, was that you could have a vendor who, there are areas in Clark County where on one side of the street it is county, and on the other side of the street it's Las Vegas, right? And nobody knows the difference, and it doesn't look like a difference, but this is intended to address that issue specifically. And then the enforcement of each ordinance is going to be with each respective jurisdiction. The idea, though, is that it will be easier for the businesses because it'll look like the same fee, the same rules from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and that helps us move things towards a multi-jurisdictional approach. I don't know if that answered your question. I'm happy to follow up if it did not. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning again. So I think this is a good bill because I think it is time-consuming, certainly for people that want to start their businesses and how to streamline it. So I really like this. When I hear you talking about street vendors, contractors, what I'm kind of hearing, and I wanted to see if I was thinking of this correctly, is that the businesses you're alluding to don't really have a brick and mortar address. They might have an address at their home or a post office box, but they don't really have a place where people come in to visit. So do you envision this? Of course, I'm thinking like realtors, because right now there's an agreement between the municipalities that the realtors are licensed based on where their brokers' brick and mortar business is. And we could extrapolate that to CPA firms, legal. So are you envisioning that the brick and mortar places, so to speak, will still be obtaining their license in that municipality? And this is more for those people that don't have a brick and mortar place, and that's the list that will be growing for these multi-jurisdictional licenses?
Joanna Jacob for the record. Assemblywoman Kasama, I think the intent is exactly right that you're talking. We prioritized, I think, when we're looking at multi-jurisdictional license, the businesses that are mobile, because it's a barrier for them specifically. I think if we were to, I don't think that the intent here is to change any agreements that you may have in place with the localities, but the important thing, I think, here is that we're creating a structure. If the business community wanted to come to the municipalities to talk about adding this category, I think our respective business licenses and our respective boards and city councils are trying to prioritize making it easier to do business in Clark County. And that would be something we would do in concert with the businesses, I think, if we wanted to do. Realtors, we have in our category like a general business support services, because a lot of businesses, Assemblywoman Gallant talked about property managers or realtors who are in a mobile office in their car, and they're moving from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. I think it would be a conversation we could have, but right now we're prioritizing, I think you're exactly right, the businesses that don't have a traditional brick and mortar are not regulated. The issue is the regulation of those buildings and fire codes and things like that. We would still need to align our ordinances and move forward, if that helps. So you're right, mobile to start, and then if there were businesses that wanted to be added, it gives a framework for us to have that conversation with the businesses in Clark County.
Great, thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Our next question is from Vice Chair Nguyen.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, I wonder what happened here. All right. It's the last few days. The equipment just, fall apart. So, Ms. Jacob, I know that we've talked about this multiple times outside of even this bill, as some of my constituent has, similar challenges across different parts of our county. Has there been conversation, and I know this is still a work in progress, has there been conversation around different municipality, even county, having challenges with the types of business, right? So maybe one municipality doesn't allow that type of business, and then the rest does. What is the appellate process looks like right now between this conversation and this discussion? Should one city or one jurisdiction doesn't allow that types of business, then what happens to that applicant?
Joanna Jacob for the record. So thank you for that question, Vice Chair Nguyen. I think that's been one of the barriers to adding to a multi-jurisdictional approach, right? Is that and the work that we had to do to align our ordinances, I think the issue would be if there was a business that was not allowed in one jurisdiction and was allowed in the other jurisdictions. And I have Mike Cathcart from City of Henderson, so he'll correct me if I misspeak. But the issue is, because he's Director of Business License, I guess, but the issue is that no, that wouldn't be a good candidate for multi-jurisdictional license. We're trying to find the categories where we all do regulate in the same way, and that we will talk to our boards about aligning our codes. It doesn't mean that it would not be considered in the future, but that would require some additional work, because we would need to that whatever jurisdiction hypothetically who didn't allow that business to enact an ordinance to allow the business, and then we could move it towards multi-jurisdictional license. And Mike will correct me if I misspoke. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson. There's very few businesses that one entity allows and another does not. It really comes down to definitions in our code. All of our codes have been built over the last 60 years. So sometimes the definitions are different, the fees are different. There could be some regulatory differences on how we regulate that particular business, but it's really about streamlining our codes and getting our codes lined up together.
And I just want to make sure that we still provide a lot of input, obviously not just from this body, but also from the public. Are there plans to go through a public hearing on some of these discussions on these ordinances that, in terms of this process and perhaps down the road? Because I'm just wanting to make sure that if there is a grievance for so to speak, or some sort of challenge of one jurisdiction over the other, there's a clear path for that business owner to go versus jumping all over the place.
Joanna Jacob for the record. Yes, we do intend, the bill requires adoption of a policy and an ordinance that's going to create this structure. Of course, if you've been to a Clark County Commission meeting and they're heavily attended, with the adoption of any ordinance, it usually begins and with Clark County with a discussion item at the board. There's ample opportunities for us to engage with this business community, and especially I will say our director of business license and his colleagues at all the cities, they do for this type of thing. We have done, when we are doing a massive business license update, we typically will do workshops with the business community to talk to them about it. For example, when we did sidewalk vendors, I think we did about 16 public workshops before we actually enacted the ordinance to try and get input and feedback from the community, the regulated community. So I'm not going to say we'll do 16 public work, but there is a process for the public to engage. And of course, I think this is something the business community has been wanting for a long time. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce and all the chambers of commerce on this. And so I think that there will be a lot of opportunity for us to engage before we adopt this policy. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. And our last question is from Assemblymember De Silva.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to say thank you again for getting this, addressing this issue and moving this issue forward. Just had a quick question about the actual timetables. I know that the local municipals are looking at rolling out different licensing and different sort of businesses and industries on a timetable basis. I was wondering if you can give us some insight on those timetables. Thank you.
For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson. We are looking at the food truck ordinance changes over the summer and into the fall because, as I mentioned in my previous comments, a lot of times we have different regulatory structures in all of our codes. Food trucks is one of those. Our mobile food vendors is one of those. So we've all got to bring our code to our city councils and boards, and we want to line up our codes so that they're the same regulatory structure. So that'll probably take us into the fall, and then we'll start putting together the multi-jurisdictional license effort and the outreach for that. So hopefully by the end of the year, we're up and running with mobile food vendors, and then we'll just continue to build on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that presentation. We will now move on to testimony. So if you'd like to take a step back, we will begin hearing testimony here in Carson City. Again, I don't see anyone in Las Vegas, but via video conference in Las Vegas or over the phone. And again, that phone number is 669-900-6833. We will begin here in Carson City. Please go ahead when you are ready.
For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson. City is in support, and I just wanted to point out again, it kind of got lost in the discussion, Section 2, subsection 4, the importance of that, the pieces that will really take us forward with the Secretary of State's office, because that builds on work that we did in previous sessions, where each entity in the South, City of Henderson, City of Las Vegas, Clark County, when they could technologically, when it was feasible to join with Secretary of State and start integrating pieces of the licensing process, the law enabled that. What this does is it makes multi-jurisdictional its own piece of that. So now you have the entities when it's feasible. They can integrate with the Secretary of State's office. And with this bill, we would have interjurisdictional licensing, which is, we have a central data store. It's kind of its own technology. When we're ready to integrate that, it would be allowed by law. So that was one of the pieces I wanted to point out there. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. For the record, Paul Moratkin with the Vegas Chamber. Chamber is in support of SB 373. And we do want to thank the bill sponsors, Senator Steinbeck and Clark County and the local governments for also working with us, and the cities, of course. As you heard, the contractors regulation was mandated in 2011. In the last 14 years, the Chamber and many of our partners have advocated for additional licensing in categories. And we appreciate the comprehensive approach on 373 because of their efforts to go broad-based on category by category, but also by the integration of the Secretary of State's office. That is a huge policy shift in the state. As many of you know who have worked with small businesses, may have small businesses, going to jurisdiction is time-consuming. It can be confusing as well. And we know small businesses are typically 1 or 2 people. They're trying to get the business up and running, and every day delayed costs them money, costs them trying to get that business started. So we very much appreciate the county and the cities for working with us. As you heard from Ms. Jacob, it's been an ongoing effort, but it's a collaborative effort. And we thank, again, the bill sponsor for bringing the bill forward today. Thank you very much.
Good morning again, Madam Chair. For the record, Trey Abney, representing small business job creators of NFIB Nevada. Will associate my comments with Mr. Muradkin. I want to thank Senator Steinbeck and Ms. Jacob for bringing this forward. It was music to my ears when Senator Steinbeck said he wants to reduce administrative burden for small business, and that's certainly what we support every day in this building, and the fact that this will be a one-stop shop for small businesses, make it easier for them to operate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. Joe Hill with the Retail Association of Nevada. We support SB 373 because it simplifies business licensing in Clark County by establishing a unified multi-jurisdictional system. Retailers, especially those with locations across multiple cities, often face duplicative and inconsistent licensing requirements that create unnecessary administrative burdens and compliance costs. This bill is a common sense step toward modernizing and streamlining how we license businesses in Nevada's largest metropolitan area. It supports small and large retailers alike by reducing red tape and allowing entrepreneurs to spend more time focused on their customers and employees. We appreciate the legislature's continued works to make Nevada a more business-friendly state and urge your support for SB 373. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Again, Andrew McKay, Executive Director of the Nevada Franchise Auto Dealers Association. Just want to echo the comments made by my colleagues. Simply put, anything you can do to streamline and make, in essence, this process one-stop shopping, that's music to our ears. It can be oftentimes consuming, but more importantly, I think time-consuming, as the Senator notated, time is money. So we thank the Senator and Ms. Jacob for bringing this bill forward, and we enthusiastically support it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Maurice Washington. I'm with AFP Americans for Prosperity. I'm the legislative liaison, and we support this bill as well. SB 373 will streamline the process, and my only hope is that between the Secretary and State that we might be able to expand it up north in northern Nevada. We could use a streamlined process as well. This is a good bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one else in support here in Carson City and seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the lines in support of SB 373?
To testify in support of Senate Bill 373, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, please press star 9.
Hi, this is Peter Guzman, President of the Latin Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to thank and commend Senator Steinbeck for bringing business-friendly bills forward, including this one. The Latin Chamber of Commerce is in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Kelly Crompton, representing the city of Las Vegas. We are in support of SB 373 and thank the bill sponsor for bringing it forward.
Happy Monday morning, Chair and members of the committee. This is Dora Martinez with the Nevada Disability Action Coalition, and we wholeheartedly support this bill. And it's a reminder that when they do have this on the sidewalk, to please be mindful of the Americans with Disability Act and does not abstract people who are wheelchair users, guide dog users, and cane users. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, hello, this is Al Rojas, Assembly District 12.
I am in support of this bill. It's a nightmare to try to do business in our communities, especially down here in Clark County. It's a long overdue bill. And I also want to thank my friend Peter Guzman for supporting this bill. Thank you very much. Bye.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support.
Thank you. We will then move on to testimony in opposition. Is there anyone here in Carson City that wishes to testify in opposition to SB 373? Seeing no one approach, still seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 373?
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for opposition.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on the bill? Seeing no one, still seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in neutral on Senate Bill 373?
The line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral.
Thank you. Would the presenter like to come up to make any final remarks? Please begin when you're ready.
I just want, John Steinbeck for the record, just want to thank everybody for their support on this. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I did hear the committee members and some of the people as well that the more categories we can get added to this, the better it'll be for our business communities and our constituents. We certainly did want to get Northern Nevada as well, originally intended, but the technology just didn't line up at that point in time, so we'll come back and get them at a later time, or hopefully can move that forward. But thank you for your support.
Thank you, and I will now close the hearing on Senate Bill 373, and we will move to public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comment to topics within the jurisdiction of the committee. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. If you would like to provide public comment on the phone today, the call-in number is 669-900-6833. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 876-900. Back up. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 876-8551-6465, and then press pound when prompted for participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes. Please remember to clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there any public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none, seeing no one in Las Vegas. AVH, is there anyone on the line for public comment today?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue. Again, please press star 9.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure if this is the appropriate medium, but I believe there was a towing bill that was heard here by Max Carter. Can I comment on that?
I'm sorry, I believe you're not in the right committee. This is Government Affairs.
Okay.
We didn't hear.
I think it was heard on you, but anyway, that's fine. That's okay. Can I
I apologize, it wasn't heard today.
It wasn't, no, but it was heard before, I think, at some other time.
No, I'm sorry, sir. I believe that you were looking for a GNI, Growth and Infrastructure, not Government Affairs.
Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you very much. I don't want to bother the group. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers on the line.
All right, thank you. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, May 27th at 8:30 a.m. in room 4100. This concludes our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned.